Now, for a nikah to be valid, how many witnesses are must from each side? And also, can these be women as well?
Okay, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Leaving aside the issue of regarding the genders for the time being, but just on the issue of witnesses, the fact of the matter is that when we look to the hadith narrations and the Quranic ayat, that which is established authenticity-wise in terms of veracity according to the scholars of hadith, classically speaking, there are no actual explicit texts regarding the requirement of witnesses, a specific number, right? There is a text which says, shahidan, 2 witnesses, right? And that's something which has been used, no doubt, and upheld by madhahib. Now, let me give you something of a backstory regarding this. Madhahib have, if you like, imagine concentric circles, okay? Some of the teachings within the madhahib are there for administrative purposes. And especially in times when actually a contract is not something that's documented. A contract, is, even by English law, I don't mean marriage laws specifically in English law, but just in law in general, a verbal contract is as solid as a written contract. It is entirely the same. So if you say, if I say, I will sell you this mug, I'm not the owner of the mug, so this is not a sale. But if I were to say, I'll sell you this mug for £10, and you say, okay, fine, that sale has been completed. It's the offer and the acceptance. Ijab and qabul, we call it in Arabic, and offer and acceptance in English. And it's the exact same thing in both, if you like, Islamic, classical law, and in English law. Now, if there are witnesses there in English law, again, that would then be an evidence of that. If it was written down, again, that would have sufficed. This is my understanding of the English law. Of course, I'm not an English law expert by any stretch. In Islamic law, once it's been said verbally and there's some witnesses there, that would then suffice. Now, there's certain kind of recommendations or requirements or shurut that the various books expound as to who would be a trustworthy witness and this and that, the other. But ultimately, this is there for administrative purposes if the two sides were to fall into dispute. Otherwise, for example, if you've had a nikah done and it's publicized, like the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ saying, "A'linu nikah," make the nikah publicly known, it's not meant to be done in secret, because this is something which both is a bond between the two sides, or the two individuals rather, but also there's societal ramifications from recognizing or not being aware of the nikah, because that's what distinguishes a nikah from an act of this done just in secrecy between two people, which is not the nikah. So the point is, if it's just the two people, the man and woman, and it's made public, that's the nikah done. Obviously with the consent of the people concerned and the wali and so on. So that would be it. And the other madhahib said there'd be the two witnesses. And this is based on, for administrative purposes, for the court's angle. It's not based on a specific hadith that the madhahib held as being authentic from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Allah knows best.
Now, today's generation, we sometimes say if our parents are not agreeing, I don't need my parents to be witness. In terms of witness, who are the best people for bride and the groom, would be bride and groom?
So it's interesting, as I said to you, because there's no specific hadith saying the thing, there aren't prophetic requirements put on this, but the fuqaha, they discuss this, and again they're talking about within the courts and the administrative processes what would seem the most watertight way of doing it. And so many of them they said they didn't want, for example, the lineal ascendants like one's father, or if there was a son already from a previous marriage, let's say, for him to be the witness. Even siblings, there's discussion as to whether that's something. So really, if you can get someone who's maybe a close friend, that's absolutely fine, but not actually family, because the insinuation can be made, well, they're your family anyway.
Okay.
Right?
Fine.
And they're witnessing, obviously, the offer and the acceptance, and if the mahar is being mentioned, then that would also be something.
So when you say mahar is mentioned, now we see sometime briefly in 30 seconds, do we need to verbally let people know in the gathering how much mahar was agreed, or can it be secret?
It can be secret. It can be, as long as the two sides, the parties, the bride and the groom know, the wali, etc., then that's done. The only point I was going to say, even if the mahr is not mentioned at all by either parties, then the scholars say it would become mahr al-mithl, which is ordinarily expected from a person of those standings and backgrounds, socially speaking.
It's just sometimes we see some of the show off and the amount, sometimes very amazing amounts.
It's not necessary.
Thank you very much.
It's a token of recognition. It's nothing,
So it's not mandatory to basically announce the amount.
And the mahr is no reflection on the value or the worth of the individuals. Of course it could.
Very valid point. Very valid point.